Okay, so no Zach this week. Kind of forgot last minute, but I did promise, or at least say I was going to do a review of this week's Impact, so I'm glad I watched and got all the pertinent photos ready for you. Anyway, so we are a week away from Bound for Glory. Not even. We're 6 days. Really should have done my predictions last night on Wrestling Underground, but, whatever. Hey, by the by, go to realnerdcorp.podbean.com and download last night's Wrestling Underground and last night's Ohio Guys podcast. We talked AEW Dark, we talked Bound for Glory, we talked the first night of the WWE Draft, and then on Ohio Guys, we talked AEW Dynamite, AEW's booking decisions, and more. So go tune in. As far as Impact goes, mostly a solid week. Some stuff I'm not a big fan of, but we'll get there. I like the opening matchup, Eddie Edwards versus Ace Austin. The alliteration feud continues. It's clear that Reno Scum are, in fact, scum of Reno, but I love those boys, so I'm alright with that. Ace gets the win after Reno Scum runs in and causes some, shall we say, confusion. Ace now goes into the Bound for Glory ladder match. I am curious to see who the fifth slot goes to. No spoilers, but things don't exactly go as planned. So we'll see what ends up happening for the event on Sunday. Next up, we have a great segment with Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. I used to think that Rosemary and Allie had this really great chemistry. But the more I watch Allie, the more I realize that she's what I like to call a yeah-but character. A yeah-but wrestler. We all like her, but we don't really know why. We like her because she's nice, because we want her to do well. But Allie's not a great athlete, she's not a great in-ring technician, and she's really not a great promo. And I say this not to disparage Miss Allie, but to put over Rosemary, because you can put Rosemary with a brick wall, and I think that segment would be one of the 3 best segments of the night, truthfully. Taya's no slouch, though, when it comes to promo work. She's a really good character. I am not digging the plight of the Roller Boys haircut, though. I think that's the right movie. So I would, grow that back out. But hey, what am I going to do? Rosemary's little purplish skeleton macabre look is fan-fucking-tastic, though, so I'm all about that. Next up, we had a 6-man tag. It is the Rascals versus the Desi Hit Squad. There's going to be a lot of people who don't like Mahabali Shera. I'm not sure which one it is anymore. I know one of them is wrong. But I like Shera. I think Shera has improved a lot. His footwork and technique is so much better than his first time in Impact. He has a much better physical presence in the ring. He's aware of where to go now, which is something that he really didn't seem to have an idea of last time. And I have no problem with the Rascals losing this bout, because you're going into Bound for Glory where you're going to have 3 Lucha Libre stars, a legend in Dr. Wagner. You have Taurus, who is just the coolest looking luchador I've seen since probably La Parka first debuted in North America back in 95, 96, or was it 93 with that 94? It was 94, I think, with that AAA WCW pay-per-view. And by the by, WCW brought luchadors to America first. I hate to break this to anyone, but Paul Heyman watched that AAA WCW event in 94, and then he brought all those guys because he's like, oh, Conan, okay. And Conan was on that show, so. But revisionist history is revisionist history, so what are you going to do? I like Desi Hit Squad, especially with Mahabali Shera, and I also like the idea of trios in wrestling. In fact, I like trios more than I like tag teams, truthfully. Because you have the actual idea of it being a squad, team, group dynamic, as opposed to just 2 people. You don't call a pair of doubles in tennis a team, you call them doubles. So I like the idea of trios because it gives more of a feel of authenticity to the idea of a team. I also understand, though, that that's more money that you have to spend per show, so it's not always the most convenient thing to do. But I would like to see trios be more of a factor in Impact. Oh, Desi won, by the way. Then we got this Katie Forbes Jordan Gray segment, which I was told was something, and I didn't really know what to expect. But then Katie Forbes started twerking, and like that wasn't even the weirdest part for me. If you watch, Katie Forbes gives her keys to Jordan Grace because she assumes that she's a valet. So Jordan Grace takes the keys and slaps them right into Katie Forbes' tit. Like she lets the keys go down the crevice. And I'm like, what is this segment? And then she's like, I'm going to kick your ass tonight, Katie Forbes. And Katie Forbes is like, you mean this ass? And she starts twerking, and Jordan Grace is like, ugh, God. She walks away. Katie Forbes is like, you're going to need a bigger foot than that, honey. And I was like, that's a great line. We then get Jessica Havoc versus Taya Valkyrie. And I'm going to be honest with you, Jessica Havoc's not very good. She was about 9 years ago, but she was in a lot better shape 9 years ago, so what are you going to do? I do like the color dynamic between these two. You have the darker, satanic red and black for Havoc, and then you have the more angelic white and blue. I always love when things like that kind of just works out, even if it's intentional. I enjoy that. Then you got, of course, the Sinister Ministers. Just look at that. Where is he looking? He's clearly looking at Havoc. What are you going to do? There's a word I'm trying to think of. It starts with an L, but I can't articulate it. That's my curse. We then got a really great OVE promo where Sami Callihan again blames Brian Cage for ducking and hitting Melissa Santos. And then he goes, a lot of people have been blaming me, and I'm going to be honest, that triggers me. And I'm like, good job, Sammy. I like OVE. They're the best stable in wrestling. Fight me. We then got a really good tag team promo with the North. I forget who the new interviewer is, but I think she's actually pretty solid. And her more jovial kind of but personality blends well with more sardonic, sarcastic heels like the North. And they had a really good promo. Cue an interruption between Swanee Mac, the Swan Mac-a-Swans, Mac Swan Daddy Swans, don't call it a comeback. LL Cool Swans? They need a name. I don't know it. LL Mac Swans. They roll up, and Rich Swann is wearing a Tommy Dreamer shirt, which is actually hilarious because Tommy Dreamer reps Rob Van Dam and Rhino, and Swan and Mac and the North are going to be facing Rob Van Dam and Rhino in that triple threat at Bound for Glory, so I thought that was pretty fucking funny. Next up, and this is just a really cool shot. Like, this is an amazing shot. I don't really put over Impact cinematography that often because they don't really do a great job with it. I'm sorry. But this is the first time I've seen this, and I think the Las Vegas tapings were also the first time they had a new director, or I should say an old director, because I think David Sahadi is back in play. So this was a really cool shot. It really had this ominous, almost, big fight feel. Like, this is something you would see at the Dome show, or even at WrestleMania. Like, this is like a really nice entrance. I hope they do more of this, and especially with the shot, because like you could just see him. And oh, look, there's Frank Trigg. He looks like a ghastly ghoul, but there's Frank Trigg. Like, look, it looks like his eyes are hollowed out divots. So that's a really cool shot. But Frank Trigg is a commentator for Ryzen FC. There he is, right there. This is Mr. Trigg. And Impact fans may remember him from 2008. He did a lot of work on television, actually, for TNA, then named TNA. He was one of Kurt Angle's quote-unquote trainers. He also did a lot of commentary. I shouldn't say a lot. He did it for Lockdown. I think he did it for the night after Lockdown. He did it also later on in the year at one point or another. And of course, he had that infamous no ropes match with AJ Styles, which is now all the rage thanks to Bloodsport and Game Changer Wrestling. It's good to know that Game Changer is lifting old TNA ideas and showing the world that, yes, these ideas were good. Fans just wanted to shit on TNA. I like Frank Trigg as a commentator. I just listened to his stuff. I think it was Friday night. Or maybe it was Saturday night. They had, or it was technically morning. They had Ryzen 19 and Pitbull's brother, I forget his actual first name, advanced in there. I think he's a featherweight Grand Prix. And Trigg is really good at commentary, and I would love to see them replace Don Callis with Frank Trigg. I'd also love to see them replace Josh Matthews with a stone, or, brick. Any inanimate object would be better than Matthews. Specifically, though, Matt Stryker. Not an inanimate object, but still. Matt Stryker and Frank Trigg, I think, is the commentated team you want going forward. At least that's what I would do, because I would want a more sports-focused broadcast. Whoa, what do I know? It's not to say that Don Callis is bad. I think Don Callis' brand is unnecessary at times. Then we have the MMA match. Oh, can't really see him, but here's Stephan Bonnar, and here's the Moose. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like the Bonnar, I like the Moose. They had a really good match. I think they even mentioned it at Victory Road, which was like 4 weeks ago. And I liked it. It was really good. Bonnar's shockingly very good at pro wrestling. This was not a good match, though. But it wasn't supposed to be. And I think that's the thing, whenever you look at pro wrestling through the lens of star ratings, cancel that out when you watch the television show. The television show is supposed to advance story and character. The big events are your big bouts. So I don't expect this to be a 5-star classic, or even a 3-star classic, because it's not supposed to be. It's fine as it is. It told a story. Bonnar got messed up because Moose is so damn dominant, but Frank Trigg, he tries to get involved in, post-match, I should say. Frank Trigg tried to get involved in post-match, but Bonnar cuts him off, and Shamrock comes out and locks Moose in the ankle lock, which I'm going to actually adjust this so you can actually see everything. There you go. Much better, Chad. Way to wait so long to do it, though. Shamrock hits actually a great drop kick. And you have to understand something. Shamrock never hit drop kicks. Like, I watched Shamrock religiously back in the day because he was, like, one of my favorites for the WWF. And I was like, oh, God, Shamrock's so cool. But he did, like, a spinning heel kick and the belly-to-belly and, like, a lot of submission holds. Like, that was his repertoire. So to see him at 55 throw a pretty damn good dropkick, I was like, whoa, what? That's awesome. So that was pretty cool. And I like that Trigg actually put in some MMA kind of, I shouldn't say MMA, but he put in some actual anecdotal and analysis for the Moose Shamrock fight, saying that Shamrock is all gassed up. Not literally gassed up, because that means he's on steroids. I mean, he might be, I don't know. But he said, Shamrock is all muscle. He has no cardio. So if Shamrock can't put Moose away in 2.5 minutes, Shamrock's screwed. And I like that. I don't, obviously I don't believe that, but it was still like a really cool thing to add to a broadcast, because I think that's the kind of stuff that adds nuance to feuds. You have to be able to put over talent in a legitimate and authentic way. When you start kind of just throwing things against the wall and like random nonsensical, random-ass wrestling terminology, like, it doesn't work. You need that terminology to be linked to the idea of actual sport. Because it's when you start selling the leg injuries, or you start talking about his age, or cardio, that's where matches get more than just the action. That's where the stories become part of the in-ring work. And oftentimes you have to, settle that and talk about that beforehand. So I like that they were putting that over. I like that Frank Trigg put over how dominant Moose is, how he trained with Moose for years prior to him leaving the NFL. And, now that he's in pro wrestling, Moose wanted him to train him, so he did, and getting him ready for Shamrock. So, like, they're putting over this history they have with each other, and they're putting over the history that Bonnar has with Moose. So they're working all 3 or 4 aspects of this feud into one another. So I'm really happy with what they're doing with the Shamrock Moose feud, and it's the one I'm most excited for Bound for Glory. Next up, we got Katie Forbes versus Jordan Grace. Let's be honest, this is what you all came to see. That's going to give me a strike on YouTube, I'm sure. This was an alright match. Katie Forbes isn't bad, but as I mentioned on Ohio Guys, the athletic level for the depth of women is nowhere near the depth of men. Like, you have some real bangers across the board. Kelly Klein, Jordan Grace, Tessa Blanchard, Sasha Banks, even, what's her name, Bianca Belair. But the cream of the crop for men, like, there's 100 pro wrestlers in New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE, CMLL, AAA, All Japan, Noah, you could build a promotion around. There's not that many when it comes to women. I could think of maybe, off the top of my head, 10. Katie Forbes is not one of these 10. Thankfully, she didn't win, so that's great. It does look like they're going to be using Katie Forbes more often. They want to have that sex spot character, and she has that personality and the, shall we say, attributes to pull that off. So I wouldn't be surprised if they replace the Scarlett Bordeaux gimmick with something more along the lines of Katie Forbes. Plus, with Rob Van Dam sticking around through at least the end of the year, it would make sense that she would be around more often. We then got this great fucking promo. Oh, God. Why did Johnny Swinger become the best thing on Impact, unironically? Like, honestly, like, Johnny Swinger, you're funny. You're funny, sir. The one thing I will say about this promo is Johnny Swinger really does like referencing all the swingman kind of gimmicks, so I thought that was pretty funny. Excuse the sudden pop-up on the screen. I had to pull up the Bound for Glory card because we're going to do a predictions of that, and I did not have that up yet, so my bad. So he hits on Katie Forbes, and he's like, hey, you should reveal more skin. She's like, I'm dating Rob Van Dam, right? And he goes, oh, that's cool. Me and Rob go way back to ECW. Oh, do you guys swing? And she just walks away. Then Jordan Grace walks up and goes, hey, baby. And Jordan Grace just fucking hip checks him into a chair, and he just starts laughing. Johnny Swinger's the greatest thing ever. I'm so sorry I ever had doubts. We then have Tessa Blanchard and Daga, who is also another real-life couple. And I'm kind of iffy on Daga's promo skills. I don't know if his grasp of the English language is really all that great. It's good enough to date someone who only speaks English, I mean, clearly. But I really think Daga could be something special, especially if he's paired with Conan. I think that's the pairing Conan needs. Leave the tag team scene behind for now and hook up with Daga, because that's where the money is, I think. Because Daga could main event. They gave, in Ring of Honor, the world title to Roosh, and I don't know how his English is, but it's not great. So like you could easily parallel the success of Roosh in Ring of Honor with the more talented Daga in Impact. So that's what I would do. I'm just putting that one out there. We then got a pretty solid little gimmicky promo with TJP and Falaba. It looked like TJP was eating like an eclair, and ironically enough, Ethan Page's YouTube page actually documented this filming session because they were asking TJP, TJ, did you eat that donut? He goes, well, half of it. And now you see the donut he's eating. And it's really funny. And they put over this, I think Ba was going to be going up against Elgin. He's like, if you break the unbreakable Michael Elgin, you're going to be, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And that's pretty much it. I don't necessarily care about this angle, but anything that gets Ba on television, I'm 100% for. And kudos to Ba for losing all this weight. It's not only good for his health, but it's also great for his career because you can tell he's moving better. I know we talk about weight in wrestling kind of arbitrarily, and we're like, oh, yeah, some guys come. The basic point of emphasis with weight in general with anyone is that the more weight your frame carries, the more likely it is for your joints to erode. So it's always good to lose weight. Not once, to get in shape. Anything beyond a certain point is unhealthy, and anything over a certain point is unhealthy. And for Ba to legitimately be losing weight is a very good thing, and I'm very proud of him. And I think all fans should be too, because it's getting his health on track, which is what's important. Because we don't need any more Yokozuna. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. We don't need any more Yokozunas. Dead at 34? No. Main event saw Daga and his real-life girlfriend Tessa Blanchard team up to take on Jake Christ and Sawyer Fulton. It was a fine tag match. I thought it was going to go longer, considering we still had like 20 minutes left in the show when it started. Tessa ends up beating Jake with the Magnum. And fucking Josh Matthews is terrible. He's terrible at everything. He goes, if Tessa hits that at the pay-per-view, she's gonna... Well, she can climb and get the title. Shut the fuck up, Josh. You're terrible. I'll give a lot of people passes. Like with Jessica Havoc, I think if she were to get herself into shape, she would be better. Like with Madison Rayne, I think if she stopped worrying so much about in-ring work and started working more about, the crowd and her mic skills, I think she'd be really engaging. Johnny Swinger, I don't ever want to see wrestle in a match more than 5 minutes. It's finding your niche to get yourself over that matters. And Josh Matthews is just fucking... I've given him 5 years. He hasn't gotten better. His best is when Matt Striker carries him. Just saying. Then, post-match, Tessa and Daga leave. Brian Cage comes down and starts demolishing everyone. They end up handcuffing him to the ring. And as they're whooping his ass, Melissa Santos comes down and Sami Callihan tells her, we're done. And they all begin to leave the ring. And then Sami grabs Melissa Santos and then pile drives her. And... oh, the fans lost their fucking minds. This was great, shitty heel behavior. It was so great because, long con. I greatly appreciated this and preferred that they did the slow build to him being just a giant shit heel. And we knew he was a heel, but he showed Tessa respect, even though he patted her on the ass. He didn't mean to hit Melissa at the wedding, and he even apologized, and he looked distraught and despondent afterwards, and he apologized the next week. And then he just goes full into it. I love that. It's such a great heel thing. It's so despicable. And Brian Cage sold it great. He was more worried about Melissa. Hey, say something. Tell me you're okay. It's all really fantastic. I loved how this show ended. My lone complaint is this is how I think the take-home show should have ended. I don't know what we're going to do for the end of Impact next week, but we'll see what happens. And, of course, as always, a reminder, the 29th is the start of Impact on Tuesdays. I think we're going to get a recap show on the 22nd, I think is how it's going to play out. So we'll see what happens with that. Whatever. So that takes us to... Bound for Glory. So I did not give my predictions last night because I thought we had a joint show tonight with me and Zach Duncan. Zach is indisposed for this evening, and this was something I've known about for about 3 weeks, and I completely forgot, so it's all on me. So had I remembered last night, I would have given my predictions last night, but I didn't, so here we are. We have the North versus Swan and Mac. We'll say they're Swan Whitley? We'll call them the Macalicious Swan Lake connection. So the I already fucked it up. The Macalicious Swan Lake connection versus the North versus the ECW alum of Rhino and Rob Van Dam, or the Double R's. I could see any one of these three teams winning. I really could. Swan and Mac, because they really do have great chemistry together. And Swan is someone that they're very high on. And Mac gave up a pretty big position in NWA to come over to Impact. So it would be nice to reward them. Rhino's in fantastic shape. Just looking at him in that promo that they did was astounding. And Rob, even though he's not anywhere close to being the guy he was 9 years ago when he was in TNA for the first time, or even, a couple years back when he returned to the WWE, I do think he has something to offer in a tag team. So this could be the best way to maximize Rob Van Dam's potential with the brand. But on the other side, you just had a really great run with LAX. And the reason why you were able to transition from AMW to Beer Money so well is because you gave Beer Money the same respect you gave AMW. It would be nice to see that the North get the same respect. So I would like to see the North, but I'm going to put my hat on Swan and Mac. The Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. It's basically a Royal Rumble match for those of you who are wondering. They even said on commentary this week that they're going to have a Battle Royal, which is not a gauntlet match, where all 20 participants will be in the ring. They didn't say all 20, but they said the winner will get the 20th spot, and the person who gets thrown out last, the last person eliminated from the match, will get the first slot. So I like that. That's a cool concept. And, usually what it is first person out, then 30 to 60 seconds later, the next person will come out, and so on and so forth. I have no idea who's going to be in this match, so I'm going to pick Chris Harris. Not the ex-AMW wrestler. I mean Chris Harris, the ex-NFL Chicago Bears player. Because why not? I would like to see someone like Stephen Bonner be in this. Eddie, if he doesn't make it into the X Division ladder match, would be great. Sabu's a contender. That would just, not even to win it, just to be in it. That'd be interesting. So I'll make my prediction during the show. I think that's gonna be easier. In the intergender ladder tag team, I said that last night. The intergender ladder match for the X Division title: Drake, Chris, Tessa Blanchard, Daga, Ace Austin, and of course the mystery opponent, be it Sabu or Rohit Raju or both, because that's who's facing off next week to determine the slot. Rohit and Sabu, and spoiler alert, the match goes to a no contest. So we'll see what happens. It would make sense that it would be Rohit because Scott D'Amore's huge on Rohit. He loves Rohit. So we'll see who gets in there. I think what's more than likely going to happen is they're both going to get in, which I'm fine with. I really don't care because it's going to come down to either Tessa, Chris, or Daga anyway. I think Eddie will get involved regardless if he's in the gauntlet match or not. Tessa and Jake would be, another cancellation. So I'm going to go with Daga. Though I could easily see them putting the belt on Tessa. The idea in wrestling right now is to be as woke as possible. And what's more woke than having a woman be a men's champion? Whatever. I love Tessa, and honestly, I'm kind of of the mindset of if giving her the X Division title belt makes her feel comfortable enough to re-sign, give her a 2-year run with the belt. I don't care. Keep Tessa in brand, though. While I would only keep women in women's divisions and men in men's divisions and not do intergender wrestling, I would still totally fucking put Tessa Blanchard in the main event. She's phenomenal. I think Jordynne Grace is the only one who's on her level athletically or talent-wise, but I mean, that's just me. We also don't have a Rosemary sighting, so that's kind of upsetting. I hope she does something at Bound for Glory. She might be in the gauntlet match, actually, come to think about it. Next up, we have the women's match. It's Taya Valkyrie versus Tenille Dashwood for the Knockouts Championship. I know a lot of people are picking Tenille. I'm picking the captain. Ba-doom-tsh. I also can see why Taya would win. And honestly, you've seen it before. Taya, not specifically her, but the champion retains in a big match, goes into the next set of tapings and TV and loses it there. I could see that. I would like Taya to retain because, you've already put, 8 months into her as champion, and Tenille really hasn't done anything in the eyes of the fans to warrant this opportunity, let alone warrant the title. And when you consider that you have Rosemary and Tessa Blanchard and Jordynne Grace and even Kiera Hogan on deck, it seems really scummy to go with Tenille, who's never been a champion in NXT or Raw or SmackDown or Ring of Honor. So why would you even go that route? I don't understand. It would make more sense just to go and try to get Kelly Klein if you wanted to go that route. Because I think Kelly Klein is the best women's wrestler Ring of Honor has ever had. So, why would you go with Tenille Dashwood when you could just stay with Taya, who's a better wrestler and a better character than Tenille? So, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. Let's see. Next up, we have I forgot I could do that. Oops. My bad. There we go. Next up, we have the Rascals taking on the AAA team. It's Dr. Wagner, Aerostar, and Taurus taking on Dez, Trey, and Wentz. I think this is going to be a match where AAA is going to get the win. I have a hard time thinking they're bringing legendary, iconic Lucha Libre god. And let's be honest, if you're in Mexico, you know Dr. Wagner is a fucking god. The dude is all about that status. He's right there with Blue Demon. Those dudes are the next legendary masks that will one day be retired and celebrated. I don't see a bunch of stoners beating that dude. If they do, that'd be great, because that's a huge feather in the Rascals' cap. But I truly do believe that Dr. Wagner is not at Bound for Glory to lose. Unlike the next selection, Michael Elgin versus Naomichi Marufuji, I think Marufuji is here to lose. I think Elgin goes over. I think he goes over clean. I think he goes over in about 12 minutes and sets up a rematch for a future Pro Wrestling Noah show. So that'll be interesting. Then, of course, we have the real main event, in my opinion. Ken Shamrock versus Moose. I would love Ken Shamrock to get his first win in Impact since 2002. Technically. he was in a 6-man, a 12-man tag match. I think it was 12. Maybe it was just 10. That I think he won. That was in 2004, and it was in a singles match. So I'm speaking mostly just singles match. I'd like to see Shamrock get the win. But Moose also deserves the opportunity to, get a big win in his own right. And right now, the main event scene is really clogged, and there's not a mid-card title for Moose to win. So this would be, I guess, the ideal way of saying, thank you, and here's your win over the Legend. So if that's the way they go, then so be it. I wouldn't have that big of an issue with it. I'm just definitely a big-time Ken Shamrock fan and have been for 30 years, 25 years, truthfully. And then, of course, the main event, Brian Cage versus Sami Callihan. This is a very confusing selection for me because I could see Sami Callihan winning the belt because he's an over heel. He's super popular. He's a draw. He's the draw. But with Cage, he hasn't really had a chance to showcase what he could do as champion, and I think this would be a great opportunity to do just that. Have him retain, now that he's healthy, and able to wrestle more often. But gun to my head, I'm going to go with Sami Callihan because, there are certain guys in this industry that is sticking around, and Sami's sticking around in Impact. Plus, if Tessa does lose the X Division title match, it sets up that, God forbid, title match between Sami and Tessa that I know they want to do, and I don't know why. So I'm going to go with Sami Callihan because it just makes the most sense. But, most of these instances, outside of maybe Tenille, I don't really, and I'm just going to sound really, really, really mean, I don't care who wins. I'm going to be all right with whoever because they've set themselves up really well for this Bound for Glory. There's not a lot of bouts in this match that I would say need to go a specific way. This isn't like watching Mark Henry and Ryback at WrestleMania and going, well, clearly Ryback needs to win, and then Mark Henry wins. Like, well, why would you squash the new guy? I don't see any of those matches on this card outside of the Knockouts division match, and that's more of an idealistic situation because Taya might be leaving soon, for all intents and purposes. So it's very possible that Tenille is the next option, and it's not the worst thing in the world. So for me, this is where I'm at. I'm going to be watching the Glory show on Friday, and I'll be watching the Twitch special, I forget what they call it, the Prelude to Glory, I think is what it is, on Saturday with all the indie crowds. I think that's going to be cool as fuck. I'm always a fan of watching new talent, and our not-so unofficial mascot, Space Monkey, he's going to be wrestling. And, we call ourselves the Space Monkey Mafia, so, yeah, I'm definitely all for watching Space Monkey on my Twitch stream, so, yeah. Let me know down below if you intend on watching all 3 events from Impact Weekend, for Bound for Glory Weekend from Chicago. It'll be interesting to see, allegedly Bound for Glory sold out. Ring of Honor put about 2,500 people in the same venue about 2 years ago, so it'll be interesting to see if Impact can do 2,500 or if they did less. And shortened up the arena. Maybe there's only 1,200 available seats. Maybe there's 2,500 available seats. Who knows? But if they're able to sell out, like an official sellout like Ring of Honor did 2 years ago with Kenny Omega at the top, with this crew, that's a good sign. That's a great sign. So let me know what you guys think. I might review NWA Power tomorrow. And I'm definitely going to check out AEW Dark because I want to see Kenny Omega wrestle. I like Kenny Omega. But I don't know if I'm going to review Dark because last week's wasn't that great. And now we have to deal with Taz's commentary. Oh, goddamn. We'll see. But thanks for giving us a shot tonight. This show and all shows are brought to you by realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdcorp.com. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCORP. We are on Instagram at realnerdcorp, RealNerdCorp. We're also on youtube.com/nerdcorp. We are on, hang on, I know the rest. We are on twitch.tv/realnerdcorp. We are on mixer.com/nerdcorp. If you want to download any of our shows, you can do so by going to Podbean, as mentioned before, at realnerdcorp.com. Well, actually, realnerdcorp.com has all the podcasts uploaded to it. Just go to the website, click on the aforementioned podcast title, and right-click and download. But if you want to go straight to Podbean and do it that way, that's fine by me. realnerdcorp.podbean.com, download's a download. We're also on iTunes by searching NerdCorp on the podcast section of the iTunes store. That's NERDCORP. If you want to download the show to your mobile device, you can do so by downloading the Podbean app, going to realnerdcorp. Actually, you have to download the Podbean app and search Real Nerd Corp. So there you go. And lastly, we do have shirts for you guys. If you want to, get them. We only have 2 right now, but we are always on the thinking train for more. We have our iconic Watch More Wrestling, which we created either 5 years ago or 6 years ago, depending on me or Swisher, depending on who you ask. I definitely thought I created it, but Swisher thinks he did. Either way, it's available. And we also have a This Is My Halloween t-shirt. So you can buy that today. That shirt can be pulled after the 30th. The Watch More Wrestling shirt will have several different variants uploaded throughout the year. We'll also be making more shirts, and they're only $15 a piece. And the point of this is to fund the website for another year, fund the Podbean for another year. So anyone who wants to buy this, buy a shirt, that'd be awesome. We also have Patreon if you want to subscribe to. We're coming in real low with prices because we don't want to be dicks about these. These shirts cost a lot to make, and we're coming in very low on the profits because we know that there's not a lot of money being thrown around, and we don't want to be dicks about this. We want you guys to know that we respect any time you give us and any money you want to spend on us. So we're not going to gouge you. That's just not how I am. I'm a bad business guy that way, but whatever. I don't give a fuck. If you don't like any of these shirts, we'll have more up throughout the year. My hope is to have at least 6 up for Christmas. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, go to realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com, see what's cooking on the website. I'm mostly sure I'm off the rest of the week until Thursday, but I might do an Ended Power for Tuesday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'm Chad Porto. This has been Making an Impact, brought to you by realnerdcorp.com. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. And once again, watch more wrestling.